mean, you literally did become untouchable for different reasons.
Yeah.
People wouldn't touch you with a barge pole.
Yes.
Before we talk about the cannibalism, and yes, we are going to talk about the cannibalism, you need to understand something. Armie Hammer did not fall from grace because of one bad decision or one bad night. He fell because the entire foundation he was standing on was rotten. And it had been rotten for 4 generations before he ever set foot on a Hollywood set. So we are going to start at the beginning, the real beginning. Armie Hammer's great-great-grandfather was a man named Julius Hammer. Julius was a doctor, a Russian immigrant, and a founding member of the Communist Party USA. In 1919, Julius was convicted of manslaughter after an abortion-related death at his clinic. Prosecutors argued the procedure killed the woman, though the medical details were disputed at trial. Julius went to prison.
Behind every great fortune is a great crime. Certainly, behind the Hammer fortune, there were a great number of great crimes.
His son, Armand Hammer, yes, the one Armie is named after, took over the family business while his father was locked up. Armand spent the next several decades building one of the most impressive and thoroughly corrupt business empires in American history. He laundered money. He was accused of funding Soviet espionage through artwork. His third wife's wealth helped finance his purchase of a controlling interest in Occidental Petroleum, which he built into one of the largest oil companies in the country. He made secret illegal donations to cover up Watergate. He had multiple mistresses, some of whom he forced to change their names and appearances so his wife wouldn't find out. In 1989, he was pardoned by President George H.W. Bush after pleading guilty to making illegal campaign contributions to Richard Nixon. Armand Hammer could walk into the Kremlin, Buckingham Palace, or the White House whenever he wanted. He was worth an estimated $180 million when he died in 1990. His son Julian, Armie's grandfather, was a different kind of problem. On the morning of his 26th birthday in May 1955, Julian shot and killed a man named Bruce Whitlock inside his Los Angeles home. The story Julian told was self-defense, but his daughter Casey had a different account. Her mother, she said, was very quick to tell her, "No, your father just murdered someone in cold blood." Julian was charged with murder. Armand had $50,000 in cash delivered to a lawyer. The charges were dropped. Armand was so disgusted with Julian that when he died, Julian and his daughter Casey received only $250,000 of the estimated $180 million estate. The family money changed hands. The family instincts didn't. The rest went to Julian's son Michael, Armie's father. Michael inherited the art gallery, the oil money, and the family instinct for getting away with things. He ran the Knoedler Gallery, one of the oldest in America, until it was shut down after it came out that the gallery had sold approximately $80 million in forged artwork over 14 years. He was also seen his entire life as, in the words of people who knew him, a permanent adolescent who never met a party he didn't want to stay at until the last possible moment. That is the family Armie Hammer was born into on August 28, 1986 in Santa Monica, California. He grew up rich. He grew up knowing he was rich. When he was around 10 years old, his parents moved the family to the Cayman Islands, a place internationally known as a Caribbean tax haven, and Armie spent his formative years in a bubble of privilege so complete that when he eventually returned to Los Angeles, he genuinely did not know how to function around regular people his own age. He had to spend months listening to music and watching movies he had missed, just to catch up on what his generation considered culture. He eventually made his way into acting, against his parents' explicit wishes. They told him flat out it wasn't appropriate for the family image. He did it anyway. He auditioned constantly. He was persistent. And in 2010, everything changed when David Fincher cast him as both of the Winklevoss twins in The Social Network. The irony that a film about the birth of social media would launch the career of a man who would later be destroyed by social media is not lost on anyone. After The Social Network, Armie worked steadily. J. Edgar with Leonardo DiCaprio, The Lone Ranger with Johnny Depp, various prestige projects that kept him visible without quite making him a genuine A-lister. He was talented enough to keep getting cast, handsome enough to keep getting magazine covers, and charming enough in interviews that nobody looked too hard at what was underneath. Then in 2017 came Call Me By Your Name. The Luca Guadagnino film about a summer love affair starred Armie as Oliver, a graduate student who begins a relationship with a teenage boy played by Timothée Chalamet. Critics were rapturous. Awards attention followed. People started saying the words James Bond in connection with his name. He was on the cover of everything. He was the next George Clooney. He was the next great Hollywood leading man. By that point, Armie Hammer genuinely believed he was untouchable. He admitted that himself later. On January 12, 2021, an Instagram account called House of Effie appeared. The woman behind it, Effie Angelova, claimed she had been in a relationship with Armie Hammer for 4 years while he was still married. And she had screenshots. The screenshots spread within hours. In them, a man who identified himself as Armie Hammer wrote things like, and these are his own words, "I am 100% a cannibal." He wrote about wanting to drink a woman's blood. He wrote about wanting to break her ribs. He described eating the raw, still warm heart of an animal he had hunted and stated he would eat a woman's heart too. He wrote about wanting to keep her in a vegetative state so he could care for her indefinitely. He described scenarios involving ropes, knives, and what he called total ownership of another person's body.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
The internet reacted the way the internet reacts. The cannibal tweets became memes. People put his face on Hannibal Lecter. The whole thing briefly had the energy of a very dark joke. The internet laughed first because the alternative was admitting how disturbing it actually sounded.
Armie Hammer violently raped me for over 4 hours in Los Angeles, during which he repeatedly slapped my head against a wall, bruising my face. He also committed other acts of violence against me, to which I did not consent.
Then the other accusations came in. Effie Angelova came forward publicly with her attorney, Gloria Allred, and accused Armie of her violently for over 4 hours in 2017. She said he repeatedly slammed her head against a wall. She said she thought she was going to die. A woman named Courtney Vucekovich said he had subjected her to emotional abuse and sexual coercion during a months-long relationship. A third woman, Paige Lorenzi, said he had used a knife to carve the letter A into her skin, his initial, and that bruising and physical marks were a constant feature of their time together. She said when she asked how she was supposed to be around other people covered in marks, he told her that was exactly the point. These 3 women came forward publicly with accounts. Hammer denied criminal wrongdoing. The Los Angeles Police Department opened a years-long investigation. Hollywood did not wait for the investigation to conclude. His talent agency WME dropped him. He was replaced in Shotgun Wedding with Jennifer Lopez. He was pulled from every project in development. Within 3 months of being the most promising leading man in Hollywood, Armie Hammer could not get a job anywhere on Earth. And we do mean anywhere. He moved to the Cayman Islands to be near his children. He and his wife Elizabeth Chambers had announced their divorce in 2020 and attempted to find work. He applied to be a timeshare salesman. He applied to be a drama teacher. He applied to be a real estate agent. Each time, he has said, he received an official Cayman Islands government letter informing him that due to issues of character, it was not in the best interests of the community for him to be admitted to work. The Cayman Islands government decided Armie Hammer was not a safe bet, the same Cayman Islands his family had used as a tax haven for decades.
I applied to be a timeshare salesman. I applied to be a drama teacher. I applied to be a real estate agent. And, each time the letter we got back from the government, an official Caymanian government letter, said, due to issues of character, we do not think it is in the best interests of the community for this person to be admitted to the Cayman Islands.
In the meantime, Elizabeth Chambers requested a psycho-legal evaluation to determine whether Armie was fit to be around their children unsupervised. During the evaluation period, he was not permitted to be alone with his own kids. He described one moment where his young daughter said she needed to go to the bathroom, and he had to look at the supervising therapist because he was not allowed to take her himself. He told Piers Morgan he swam out into the ocean during that period, far enough that coming back became optional. What brought him back, he said, was thinking about his children standing on the shore, asking where he was. In May 2023, the Los Angeles District Attorney declined to file charges, citing insufficient evidence and the complexity of the relationship as reasons they could not prove a non-consensual encounter beyond a reasonable doubt. Hammer said his name had been cleared. Prosecutors said no such thing. They said only that they lacked sufficient evidence to charge him. Gloria Allred withdrew from representing Effie Angelova after reportedly being unable to get her client to sign a sworn affidavit about the allegations. Effie has continued to maintain her account publicly. Now comes the part that feels almost impossible to believe. Armie Hammer is attempting a comeback. He has launched a podcast called the Armie Hammer Time Podcast, which he records from what he describes as his tiny apartment. He has filmed a low-budget Western called Frontier Crucible with William H. Macy and Thomas Jane. He has said the conversation in Hollywood about him has shifted from condemnation to something closer to, that guy got dealt a rough hand. He told a podcast that he is turning down jobs, that his dance card is filling up. Hollywood loves a comeback story when enough time passes and enough people decide the conversation has moved on. Whether that grace is earned or just convenient depends entirely on who you ask. On the Piers Morgan interview, when asked directly whether he was a cannibal, he had an answer ready before the question finished landing. You know what you have to do to be a cannibal. You have to have actually eaten someone. He called it confirmation bias. He called the entire thing mass hysteria. He compared the cannibal text messages to looking at a baby and saying, "You want to eat them up." He compared himself to Christian Grey from 50 Shades of Grey. He said it all looked worse out of context. The audience watching the interview had a different take. The most liked comment on the video said what a lot of people were thinking. It looks worse in context. What he never said, across an hour and a half of television, was sorry. He said the women may have convinced themselves things happened that didn't. He said they were hurt and upset when he ended things. He said the relationships were consensual. He said a lot of things. He just never said that one. The Hammers came from a world where consequences were negotiable, and money was usually the negotiation. Great-great-grandfather Julius, the founding communist, the convicted abortionist, had his son cover the whole thing up. Grandfather Julian had $50,000 in cash delivered to a lawyer on the day of his murder charge. Armand built an entire empire on the principle that enough money could rewrite any story. Michael ran a gallery that sold $80 million worth of fake art and settled every lawsuit quietly. And Armie Hammer, the golden boy who had it all, lost everything and is now carefully, methodically trying to buy his way back into the room. The question is whether Hollywood lets him in. The Timothée Chalamet connection is relevant here. As Chalamet has become one of the biggest stars on the planet, searches for Call Me By Your Name have spiked, which means new audiences are discovering the film and then discovering what happened to his co-star. That film is Armie's most remembered work. It is also the film that, depending on how the next few years go, may be either his legacy or his last real moment in the sun. He was wrong about being untouchable. 4 generations of Hammers thought the same thing.